I'm honored this morning to introduce a friend of mine and a colleague whom I've admired for many years, and as you know, one of the great men in the history of America, not only in education but also in athletics. John Wooden graduated from Purdue University in 1932. He was an All-American player all 3 years while he was at Purdue in 1930, 1931, and 1932. He was voted the College Basketball Player of the Year in 1932 and awarded the Big Ten Award for Proficiency in Scholarship and also in athletics his senior year. He began his high school coaching career at Dayton, Kentucky, where he was there for 2 years, and then he accepted a job at Central High School in South Bend, Indiana. 2 years at Kentucky and in Indiana, his coaching record was 218 won and 42 lost, for a percentage of .839. He coached basketball 2 years at Indiana State, where his teams won 47 and lost 14. He then was appointed head basketball coach at UCLA in 1946, where he has compiled a record which, in my opinion, will never be equaled. John McKay, the director of athletics at Southern California, and of course a very bitter crosstown rival or school, has made the statement that John Wooden is the greatest coach of all time, considering all sports. And I certainly agree that his record and his merits would prove that. His teams at UCLA have won 88 consecutive games before losing to Notre Dame this year. This surpassed the old record of 60 games made by the University of San Francisco during the era of Bill Russell and Casey Jones and that great team. His teams have won 9 NCAA championships in the last 11 years. He has won 7 consecutive NCAA championships starting in 1967 and continuing through 1973. The only team to interfere with his great record of 10 consecutive ones was Texas Western, Texas El Paso now, who won the NCAA in 1966. The previous high NCAA championship record was held by the University of Kentucky, and their coach Rupp at 4 championships. Coach Wooden's teams have won 38 straight NCAA playoff games, and after losing a close game to North Carolina State this year, which we all observed, he has now started another winning streak of 1 game, winning over Kansas in the consolation. He was inducted into the Helms Hall of Fame as a member of the all-time All-American basketball team. He also received an honor from the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame, being inducted twice as a player and as a coach. The only person in the basketball Naismith fame to be so inducted, and certainly the highest honor that can be accorded a person in basketball. He has been the recipient of many awards, such as the California Father of the Year, the Friars Club Coach of the Century, the College Coach of the Year 6 times. He was also awarded an honorary Doctorate of Humanities degree from Campbell College. He has lectured at many clinics, written a book on basketball titled Practical Modern Basketball, and has since co-authored another book on his life and his experiences. It was my pleasure to meet Coach Wooden when our teams played in Kansas City in 1950 in the NCAA Western playoffs. After his team lost to Bradley and we lost to Baylor, our teams played in the consolation game, and we were fortunate to win at least 1 game against UCLA. We've always had fine relationships with Coach Wooden and his teams. His teams have always been well coached. They play hard. They play according to the rules of the game, and they observe the highest standards of sportsmanship. Coach, I need to tell you today it's much easier for us to prepare for your visit to our campus to talk about your pyramid of success rather than to have to prepare to play you with such pyramids of success as Alcindor, Goodrich, Hazard, Erickson, Wicks, Rowe, Walton, Wilkes, and many others who have accompanied you here to play us. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to you today probably the greatest coach in the history of the world, John Wooden, a scholar, a great athlete, a successful coach, a proven leader and builder of men, a good Christian, a husband, a father, and a grandfather. Coach Wooden.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Lest I fail to follow the proper protocol, I believe I will say, acknowledge your president, Oakes, and then just say ladies and gentlemen, and hope that will include all of you. And if it doesn't, I don't believe you can hold me personally responsible. I want to express my appreciation to Stan. As he has stated, we've been friends for a long time, and I appreciate the kind remarks that he had to make. I wish I were worthy of all of them. I guess I'm more like the fellow who said, I really know I'm not what I ought to be. I'm not what I want to be. I'm not what I'm going to be, but I'm thankful I'm not what I used to be. You never know exactly how you will be introduced when you have an occasion to speak in a group of this type or any other type as far as that goes. Once I was introduced by a gentleman who said, and now I'm sure that all of you who have not heard Coach Wooden are eagerly looking forward to it. I don't know about those others. When they say nice things about you, you know, you like to have nice things said about you. I'm sure you do. And I'm not ashamed to admit that I like to have nice things. Don't like to have bad things said about me. There are quite a few of them said. I don't like it. But there are certain things that help you keep your feet on the ground. In 1971, we had done very well. And after we had returned from the national tournament, at which we'd been very successful, Fred Hessler, the announcer for the UCLA games, had a half-hour program devoted to UCLA basketball and their coach. And Mrs. Wooden and I were out of the city at that particular time. And upon our return, Stan Sparrow, the general manager of KMPC, and Fred Hessler invited us to a luncheon, and they presented us with a tape of this program and a tape recorder so that we could listen to it. The following Sunday, following our usual custom, and I think we're all creatures of habit, and in some ways that's very good, and in other ways it, of course, isn't so good, but in this case it's good. After church each Sunday, we always go to the same little restaurant to eat with the same couples almost every Sunday. And we eat the same thing. I always have the same thing, and most everybody does. And then after that, we go home and change clothes, and then we head for the San Fernando Valley, where at this time both of my children and 7 grandchildren lived. And we go to one place one Sunday and then the other the next Sunday first, and then we end up by seeing them all, of course. But this particular Sunday, we took the tape recorder and the tape along, and we're playing it. And one of my granddaughters said, "Papa, isn't it embarrassing to sit there and listen to all those nice things said about you?" "Yuck," she said. "That would embarrass me." And another granddaughter said, "Embarrass him? He's lapping it up." So granddaughters have a way of helping you to perhaps keep your feet on the ground. Another thing also happened in that same spring, in April, and upon my return or discharge from the service in 1946, I went back and finished the school year teaching at a high school in South Bend where I had taught English and coached various sports prior to World War II. And that spring I was invited over to Elkhart, Indiana, a neighboring city, to speak at their spring sports banquet. And in 1971, there appeared in the Elkhart paper, as they have each day, something that happened 1 year ago today, 5 years ago today, 10 years ago today, and they go back to 25 years ago today. And it said, in the paper, the Elkhart paper had a little script that several friends sent me from back there, and it said, 25 years ago today, John Wooden, English teacher and coach from South Bend Central High School, will speak at the spring sports banquet, although they had hoped to get some prominent person. So that sort of helps you keep your feet on the ground a little bit too. If you get carried away sometimes with your own importance, we need a little bit of that, and I think grandchildren can help do that, as well as some things of that sort. Now, my topic today was to be entitled The Pyramid of Success. Now, that's perhaps the only truly original thing I have. And before I talk about it, I'd like to give you an idea of the origin of it. After I had graduated from Purdue University and entered the teaching profession, I became aware of some things that I didn't quite realize before. And I'm sure that many of you young people that are so enlightened today, now, much more than we were at a similar day, are going to find out later, when you're out of college and on your own, you're going to learn some other things too. I assure you that you will. And I found out, much to my surprise, perhaps, and certainly my displeasure, that parents put too much emphasis on the mark that their youngsters would receive in class. If a youngster in my English class received an A, I was a good teacher. If he received a B, I wasn't bad, maybe I'd come along in time. If the youngster received a C, average grade, that's all right for the neighbor's child, but my child isn't average. I didn't quite understand that at the time. Later on, I understood when my children got... Matter of fact, I've got a grandson now that I'm quite certain that his teachers just simply don't understand him very well. I must have a chat with him if the time comes. And just too much emphasis is placed on it. Now, I thought that, I knew, I should say, how success is measured as far as coaching is concerned. I knew that even then, as far as players are concerned. If you win them all, you did what you were supposed to do. Except you usually don't win some of them by enough margin, because there are those that have a friendly little wager with somebody and they give extra points. I had a fellow not too long ago, we had a perfect season, and he said, "What happened up in Berkeley?" Well, I said, "I thought everything went well." And he said, "Well," he said, 27 down here, only 9 up there. He said, "I gave more than that." So what happened? I said, "Well, probably because you weren't along giving me advice." And I don't know whether he got the point or not, but I'm glad he was interested, because if people aren't interested in what we're doing, Glenn and I will be looking for another job. So please stay interested and keep criticizing us, not too much, but keep your interest. And if you are really interested, I'm sure that you'll have to be a little bit critical. But I understand that about coaching, but I didn't quite understand it about the youngsters in class. The good Lord in His infinite wisdom did not create us all equal as far as mentality is concerned, as far as physical appearance is concerned, as size is concerned, as far as environment is concerned, as far as opportunity is concerned. We are not created equal, not at all. But there are some respects where we're fairly equal. We all have the same opportunity to make the most of what we have under the conditions that exist for us, and the opportunity to try to improve our situation as best we can. But if we sit back and cry about the other fella being in a more advantageous position, and he has this and he has that, and the tendency of people is to compare with those who apparently have more, when in reality oftentimes they have less. The more they have is only in a material sort of way, and as one of the ancient Chinese philosophers said, we should seek our happiness and inner peace from the things that cannot be taken away from us. and material things can be taken away from us. So I was looking for something to consolidate my own thinking and perhaps make me become a better teacher. And I searched for an idea of a definition for success according to what I was after. And I remembered something that a high school professor that I'd had many years before that probably at the time I didn't think too much about, but somewhere in the hidden recesses of the mind it took hold because I remembered something about it many years later, and I came up with my definition of success, which is what I'm after, and I think you're after. I say success is peace of mind, which can be attained only through self-satisfaction in knowing that you have done the best to become the best that you're capable of becoming. That's not equal at all, but it is success. As far as coaching is concerned, I think I've had some teams that have been eminently successful that didn't win national championships. I have had some teams that have won national championships that I don't think were as successful as others because they didn't come as close to reaching their full potential, and this is what we're after. So I chose this as a definition to which I should aspire for success. After coming up with a definition, then I'm looking further to try to consolidate my thinking a little farther, and I came up with an idea of a pyramid of success. And the apex of the pyramid is success, according to this definition. Now, if any structure is to have any real strength and any solidity, it must have strong cornerstones. And in the late 1930s or middle 1930s when I started on this, I selected the cornerstones that have never changed. Many of the other things within the blocks within this pyramid have changed, but the cornerstones have not changed. One cornerstone is industriousness. There is no substitute for work. If you're looking for the shortcut, the easy way, you're not making use of your potential. Grantland Rice, my favorite sports writer, who was a builder, not a knocker, said, "You wonder how they do it, and you look to see the knack. You watch the foot in action, or the shoulder, or the back. But when you spot the answer where the higher glamours lurk, you'll find in moving higher up the laurel-covered spire that the most of it is practice and the rest of it is work." And so true. Good things don't come easy, and they should not. They should not. Worthwhile things should be difficult to attain. Hard work is a cornerstone for success. The other cornerstone that I have is enthusiasm. I think you must thoroughly enjoy what you're doing. You must be enthusiastic about what you're doing if you're going to be able to come close to realizing your full potential. You can't do it if it's something that you don't want to do and you don't like to do. Then you're just putting in time. You're not putting your heart into it. You must be enthusiastic about it. Some 26 years ago, I went to UCLA. And shortly after I'd been there, I went to a lecture one evening to hear a gentleman speak on a topic in which I had no interest whatsoever. And you may say, well, why did you go? Well, maybe for the same reason that some of you are here today. My superiors told me to be there. And I knew they would be there and would know whether or not I was there. And so I was there and sat up pretty close to the front. I wanted them to make sure to see me. I'm new in the city of Los Angeles, at UCLA. I want to become established. I'm afraid. I'm from the country, that's obvious, and I'm a small-town person all the time. And Los Angeles was frightening to me that particular time. So this gentleman rose to speak, and I'm sure that maybe as some of you have done, I looked at my watch and shook it, and hoped it wouldn't stop, and move faster and so on. And he wasn't a particularly polished speaker, but gracious was he enthusiastic about his topic. And he knew his topic. And before he had concluded his remarks, my whole attitude had changed. I'm leaning forward and eagerly listening most intently to the remarks that he had to make. And I was genuinely sorry when he concluded his remarks for the evening. A few days later, I had to go across campus at UCLA, and Upon my return, I came by the library, and I had no intention, very seriously, of going into the library, but it is as if some attraction pulled me into the library, searching for additional information about a topic which only a short time before I thought I had absolutely no interest at all. And I oftentimes wonder how often and how many wonderful things I've missed out on because I haven't brushed up against someone that was enthusiastic about them. Enthusiasm stimulates other people. Enthusiasm brushes off upon those with whom you're in contact. I want my basketball players at UCLA to be truly enthusiastic about basketball, truly enthusiastic about it. If they're not, they should try something else. They're wasting their time and my time and the time of others. They should be involved in things about which they're truly enthusiastic as far as their extracurricular activities are concerned. And basketball should remain an extracurricular activity. Academically, there's the only reason they're at UCLA or any other college. That's your reason. Not to come to have a good time and participate in extracurricular activities all the time. There's a place for them. But keep your academics first in line. Across the base of the pyramid, I have three other things, all very much alike: loyalty, friendship, and cooperation. Very much alike, all including in one way or another others. Each season at the close of our basketball team for many, many years, I would take a topic. When our season was over, I would select a topic and I would research it to the best of my ability. I would read all the books I could find about it. I would contact all the people that I thought were knowledgeable about it, and I would analyze the material that I would receive and acquire, and then I would make a master list. I might take the jump shot. I might take zone defense, zone press, many things I could take. 2 years ago, I selected the dictionary. I got away from a basketball topic and selected the dictionary. An amazing book, isn't it? An amazing book. I'm going through the dictionary and selecting words that are meaningful words and are inclusive of others. I'm dividing them into three categories. Not through yet, only started it, a couple years ago. It's a big book. And I only do it when I feel like it. And just when I feel like I want to do it, I work on it a little while. I'm dividing the words in three categories of single syllable, double syllable, and multiple syllable. In this base of the pyramid, I have friendship, double syllable. That's the type of word I'm looking for. And I have cooperation, multiple syllable, the type of word I'm looking for. A single syllable word perhaps might be the best of all, as we find in the 13th verse, 13th chapter, 13th verse of 1 Corinthians. Love, single syllable, the most important word of all, that we should all have one for another. And we wouldn't have problems. There'd just be no problems at all. I'm sure of that. But I'm enjoying doing this. What am I going to do with it? Where am I going to use it? I'm asked myself. Well, what are you going to do with that? People ask me. I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm enjoying it. And I like it. It isn't hurting me. It didn't hurt anybody else either. So I'm enjoying it. The next tier of the pyramid, I have four things. One is self-control. Now remember, we're trying to reach this apex, making the most of what we have, and we better have self-control. My players hear me at UCLA talk about two things probably more than anything. One is be quick but don't hurry. Be quick but don't hurry. When you start hurrying, you make too many mistakes. And the other is balance. Balance. And balance is self-control. When you lose your self-control, you've lost your emotional balance. When you lose your emotional balance, you're going to lose your mental balance. You've already lost it in your physical balance. So balance, self-control. We have many decisions to make in coaching basketball, as we do in many other things. And these decisions must be made through reason, not through emotions. Although, as Wilford Peterson says in his Art of Living, under his Art of Leadership, in his Essays on Living, he says, the leader takes a look with his mind, but before he makes the final decision, he lets his heart take a little peek too. And I think that's often necessary. But the ultimate decision is made with reason, no matter what we're doing. If it's correcting, criticizing my youngsters on the basketball court, or if it's my children or my grandchildren, it must be done through reason, not through emotion. You can do things so wrong. Decisions made through emotion can't be valid, good decisions. They might be on occasions, just by chance, by luck, but they're not likely to be. Not likely to be. So, self-control is extremely important. We must have intentness. We have this goal. We must be intent on reaching that objective. We must not let things cause us to deviate or swerve away from that goal that we have. We're going to meet obstacles. Yes, we're going to have problems, and we should have. You grow. You gain in strength and stature through meeting obstacles. And some of them you can't go through. You have to sort of go around or over, under, but you don't go way around. You don't back up and quit. You have to be intent. You must have initiative. Initiative. You must be able, not afraid, to act on your own. There are often times that you're going to have to make decisions on your own. There's not going to be anybody there to help you, to tell you, to point out the way. You're going to have to do it at times. Very definitely. This is the pyramid, which I should have shown you before I started talking. Initiative we must have. In addition to, in the second tier of having initiative and intentness and self-control, we must have alertness. If you're going to climb ever upward towards your apex, you must be alert and observing and seeing things that can be helpful to you on toward the attainment of your objective or the reaching the goal to which you aspire. The third tier I call the heart of the pyramid. As far as basketball coaching, extremely important, along with the cornerstones. One is condition. I'll start out when I meet with my basketball players next fall, some 2 weeks before our practice starts. Well, I'll have them fill out their forms and all the things that I need to have advance information as to where they're living and what the schedule program is and various other things. I will talk to them a bit and say, this year we're going to be in better condition than any team against whom we will participate. I don't hesitate about it. I just say we're going to be in better condition than any team against whom we will participate. Now, I don't know for sure we're going to be, but I want them thinking we are. I want them believing that we're going to be. And I say now, if we are going to attain and maintain this, it's a dual responsibility. My responsibility will be to arrange and organize the practice program so that we don't waste time, so that we get enough work and not too much work. I must take into consideration that this man needs more work than this one. I must understand, analyze, evaluate each player that I have under my supervision and try to work him accordingly. I must study him. That's extremely important. And I must follow tough drills with easy ones, and certain drills at the beginning of the practice can't be too difficult because they're not properly loosened up or warmed up. They're not mentally receptive quite yet, and yet I must take all these things into consideration and others. That's my responsibility toward getting them into condition. And then I must advise them properly. And the things that I advise them about is the things that they have to do. Their responsibility begins when practice ends until they return the next day. The practice of moderation is extremely important toward the attainment and maintainment of proper physical condition. The practice of moderation in all things. They may not get enough rest. They may overeat. They may not eat at the proper times. Their choice, selection of food may not be good as far as diet is concerned. They may be inclined to transgress from moral acceptance of a number of things at times. They must keep all these things in mind. If we're going to have physical condition, we must have moral condition, and we can't have moral condition unless we're spiritually conditioned to a degree. So these things are important, and I want my players to know that I consider them to be important. In the very center of the pyramid here, I have skills, and knowledge of and the ability to quickly and properly execute the fundamentals of the game, regardless of what the fundamental might be: shooting, passing, defending, dribbling, pivoting, whatever it might be. The same as a doctor or a lawyer or a teacher must have a knowledge of and the ability to execute, to teach. They must have this. Extremely important. You must know your stuff. It's very simple. And the third thing is team spirit. Team spirit. Team spirit is nothing more than consideration of others. If you're considerate of others, if nations were considerate of other nations, we wouldn't be in the problems we are today. If the Democratic Party or the Republican Party or one party was as considerate of, if they were considerate of others, we wouldn't be in the problems we're having here today. Many areas. Consideration of others. You must be considerate. You have to give to receive. Man there was, they called him mad. The more he gave, the more he had. You have to give to receive. Honors that you've received in any way, you receive because of giving. And as I said earlier, the things that are easily attained aren't very lasting. You have to give to receive. I want teamwork on our teams. I want them to look for the pass first before the shot. But I want them to take the shot when they have the shot. I don't want our basketball players to depend on the managers to be their valets. They're working together. The managers aren't supposed to pick up the orange peels or the towels or the dirty equipment or the gum wrappers or the soap on the shower floors. That's the players' possibility. You leave something there, you throw something on these beautiful grounds out here, someone's going to have to pick it up. Someone. You're inconsiderate when you do things like that. If we're going to have true teamwork, we must be considerate of others, and we try to teach that in the things off the floor. I don't believe you can be a considerate person, an inconsiderate person off the floor and be a team player on the floor. I don't think you can do it. I think there's definitely a carryover. I want our players to always thank somebody else when they score. Somebody gave you a pass or set a screen or did something to help you. And even if they didn't, look at somebody and give him a nod or a smile or let him know, and you'll get help from him if you didn't before. We like it. You like it. So do it. It costs very little. Courtesy and politeness, it has been said, is a small price to pay for the goodwill and affection of other people. And it's a certain way to acquire it, as sure as can be. So use it, and we'll have a better team. These things lead up to the two things directly above the heart. They are poise, which is just being yourself. And if you're in condition and well-drilled fundamentally and know your stuff and you are thoughtful of other people, you'll have poise. You'll have reason to have poise. And confidence. Poise and confidence are much the same. Your confidence won't be false because you're in condition, you know your stuff, and you're considerate of others. You'll have it. And these things lead up to competitive greatness. The person who doesn't worry and shy away from the tough battle, the tough course, or the tough game, or the opponent who's very good. There's a lot of pride, a lot of satisfaction in competing against those who are very good. Little satisfaction, little true satisfaction in competition against those who are not capable. No satisfaction, you should do it. No fun, no pleasure, not really, not down deep, but the love of a hard battle, yes. Grant Rice again said, beyond the winning and the goal, beyond the glory and the fame, there lives a flame within his soul, born of the spirit of the game, and where the barriers may wait, built up by the opposing gods, he finds a thrill in bucking fate and riding down the endless odds. Where others wither in the fire or fall below some raw mishap, Where others lag behind or tire and break beneath the handicap, he finds a new and deeper thrill to take him on the uphill spin, because the test is greater still and something he can revel in. The good competitor likes it when it's tough. You don't have to outscore an opponent in that case. Not at all. The pleasure comes from the tough competition. It's enjoyable. It's pleasurable. It's wonderful. That's the good competitor. All these things lead up to this, up to the peak. And right tying in the peak, I have patience through faith and prayer. We have to have faith. We're lacking in faith so much of the time, just as we're lacking in appreciation. My father gave me a creed when I graduated from a small, not a one-room school. It had 3 rooms, country grade school. And the last point in this creed, the 7th point, was, pray for guidance and give thanks for your blessings every day. Wouldn't it be a wonderful world, as someone said, if we magnified our blessings as much as we magnify our disappointments? But we don't do that. We cry about the things that go wrong and fail to appreciate the many wonderful blessings that we have in each and every way, each and every day. All these things are important in leading up to this apex of the pyramid, according to the definition, remember. Has nothing to do with scoring, nothing to do with scoring more points than somebody, nothing to do with making more money than somebody, nothing to do with gaining more fame than someone. Not at all. You know, there's a poem, the God's Hall of Fame. It's a little different. I tell you, friend, I wouldn't trade my name, however small, that's written there beyond the stars in that celestial hall, for any famous name on earth or glory that they share. I'd rather be an unknown here and have my name up there. And I would. All these things lead up to the apex. George Moriarty, an ex-Major League Baseball umpire. I like poetry, any kind, good, bad, indifferent. Wrote some verse, at least, called The Road Ahead or the Road Behind. And I think in this he exemplifies to a great degree what I have tried to bring out in my pyramid. He said, sometimes I think the fates must grin as we denounce them and insist the only reason we can't win is the fates themselves have missed. Yet there lives on the ancient claim, we win or lose within ourselves. The shining trophies on our shelves can never win tomorrow's game. Yet you and I know deeper down, there's always a chance to win the crown, but when we fail to give our best, we simply haven't met the test of giving all and saving none until the game is really won, of showing what is meant by grit, of fighting on when others quit, of playing through, not letting up. It's bearing down that wins the cup, of dreaming there's a goal ahead, of hoping when our dreams are dead, of praying when our hopes have fled, yet losing, not afraid to fall if gamely we have given all. For who can ask more of a man than giving all within his span? Giving all, it seems to me, is not so far from victory. And so the fates are seldom wrong. No matter how they twist and wind, it's you and I who make our fates. We open up or close the gates on the road ahead or the road behind. You've been a delightful audience, and I thank you.